50 horsepower, that is the number circulating in the paddock. 50 horsepower, the figure attached to Honda's new specification power unit arriving with Aston Martin at Zandvoort next week. If that number is real, Aston Martin becomes a genuine midfield contender overnight. Alonso fighting for points. Stroll ahead of Perez. The 2026 season transformed, but Honda has now spoken. And the man who runs the Sakura trackside operation says the number is wrong. Shintaro Orihara. In his own words, no, I don't think not the real number. So what is the real number? And why is Honda lowering expectations 3 days before Zandvoort? Where the 50 horsepower number came from. The 50 horsepower figure did not appear from nowhere. Rumors had placed the Honda deficit at over 90 horsepower, an extreme figure, but one that refused to die because everyone involved quietly admitted the unit was underpowered. The entire PR campaign leading into the Hungarian Grand Prix was built around managing that reality, tempering expectations while projecting forward momentum. Not an easy balance to hold. Then Aston Martin arrived in Budapest with the largest single upgrade package of their season, a 16-part chassis revision that Adrian Newey has been building toward since Melbourne. It worked. Alonso reached Q2 for the first time in 2026. Both cars finished the race, outqualifying both Williams, both Cadillacs, and one Haas. The chassis delivered. But the chassis was always only half the story. Honda's new specification power unit was the second half, and it ran for the first time on Wednesday's filming day at the Hungaroring before the summer shutdown, in a car Aston Martin now knows intimately. The ideal conditions to measure a raw power step. Someone who watched that running put the number at 50 horsepower, and the paddock ran with it, which brings us to Orihara. What happened in Hungary put Honda in a very specific bind. The chassis upgrade worked so well that the Honda power unit is now the story. Whatever remaining performance deficit Aston Martin carries is going to be publicly attributed to the engine. That is not fair to Honda, but it is the paddock reality. Lance Stroll himself said the quiet part out loud after qualifying, quote, "I think we're missing a lot on the engine, so we have to find more power. We're definitely much better on grip levels, but we just need to find more power. It's no secret. We're still missing in power. We're just doing everything we can to change that." End quote. That comment on the engine deficit is what puts Honda in the bind. The paddock has been suggesting the Honda power unit is currently underpowered by close to 15 horsepower. Some doomsday sayers suggesting even 90 horsepower compared to the front-running units, a figure we do not believe to be accurate, but the burden of proof now shifts to Honda to demonstrate that the new specification closes that gap. What Honda is actually saying. Shintaro Orihara is the Honda Racing Corporation Trackside General Manager, the person responsible for delivering the Sakura engine program to the Aston Martin car every race weekend. When he speaks about power unit numbers, he knows exactly what he is talking about. His response to the 50 horsepower rumor was carefully constructed, not a flat denial, a qualified rejection with specific language worth parsing. In quiet personal media sessions inside the paddock, he told our colleagues, "I want to have that number, but that is a quite big number." Two things in that sentence. First, he acknowledges 50 horsepower is significant. In a season where front-running units are separated by tens of horsepower, 50 is a category-changing jump. Orihara knows this. Second, "I want to have that number" is aspiration, not confirmation. That distinction matters. Then the follow-up. "I can't describe the detail of power, but my feeling with that is just no. I don't think, not the real number." Not the real number closes the door on 50 without opening a door to what the real figure is. That is deliberate. Classic Honda Sakura communication. Do not commit to numbers you cannot guarantee. When questions pointed toward 10 horsepower, his expression visibly shifted, suggesting something more credible was closer to the truth, though no number was confirmed verbally. Orihara is a senior Japanese corporate operator. Stepping outside those boundaries is not something he will do. Our reading. The Honda new specification is a genuine step. Somewhere between 20 and 35 horsepower is the credible range. Still significant, enough to move Aston Martin from the back of the midfield to competitive with Racing Bulls, Audi and Alpine. but not a leap into the top team fight. But this is not what is required, as the team has genuinely a few jokers up their sleeves that should make the midfield competition nervous. What Zandvoort will tell us. Zandvoort is the new power unit's first race weekend, but not its first track time, that came quietly in Hungary, almost as well concealed as the February shakedown in Barcelona. No media access, nothing from the drivers. Complete radio silence. What we can say is that nothing negative came out. In F1, silence after a shakedown is usually good news, but Zandvoort is not the definitive test. And here is why. It is a mixed load circuit, high-speed sweeps, long straights out of the banking, but ultimately a track that rewards chassis balance and aerodynamic efficiency as much as raw power. A 20 horsepower step will still show, but it will be partially masked by the chassis improvements arriving simultaneously. The honest answer comes at Monza. Full power circuits expose power unit deficits in a way nothing else can. If Honda is genuinely closing on Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull Ford powertrains, Monza will confirm it in the speed trap and in raw lap time. If the deficit remains 60 or 70 horsepower, Monza will expose that just as cleanly. That is precisely why Orihara is managing expectations now. Sakura knows Monza is the real test. They do not want the paddock arriving at Zandvoort expecting 50, seeing 30 and declaring the project a failure before the honest evidence arrives. Lance Stroll said it plainly after Hungary qualifying. I think we're missing a lot on the engine, so we have to find more power. He is publicly setting the bar. Orihara is quietly moving it. The Zandvoort result lands somewhere in between. Here is what has not been discussed enough. Horsepower might be the numerical benchmark, but there is more than raw engine power, especially in a car designed by once-in-a-generation genius. Honda does not only arrive at Zandvoort with more horsepower. The new specification is lighter, more reliable, and aerodynamically better integrated. Newey confirmed as much himself when the Motion Report asked him directly in Hungary. The relationship between Newey's design operation and Sakura has improved, and he is drawing on 40 years of experience when he says that improved collaboration produces better results. So even if the horsepower number lands at the lower end, it arrives packaged inside a power unit that works more cleanly with the chassis, the cooling and the aero than anything Honda has previously delivered to this car. Trust Newey on the integration. The horsepower figure alone does not capture what is changing. Our editorial position going into Zandvoort. Honda is delivering a genuine step. Not 50 horsepower, but meaningful. Enough to shift Aston Martin's competitive position. Alonso will not fight for the podium. He may fight for Q3, the chassis delivered in Hungary. The engine gets its first race weekend at Zandvoort. The verdict comes at Monza, and the 50 horsepower question gets its honest answer soon. 2 questions for the comments. Do you believe Orihara's denial, or do you think Honda is understating the number to manage expectations? And what result at Zandvoort would tell you the Aston Martin project is genuinely back? We will be at Zandvoort with a full paddock report next weekend, where the second half of the 2-part upgrade program becomes a race weekend story. If you like this kind of reporting, hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel bring you more Formula One analysis grounded in real sources. For the Motion Report, this is David Schneider. Thank you for watching.